Arsenal Football Club. A club on the verge of crisis, or a club that is going through a bit of a rough patch? Hey guys, welcome to the channel. Welcome to another video. Yes, today's video is going to centre around this club right here, Arsenal Football Club. Are they going through a bit of a crisis right now, or are they just going through a bit of a rough patch? The question basically raises its head after what has been a terrible result this past weekend, in which they lost 1-0 to Newcastle, losing more ground on the current league leaders of Liverpool. The only silver lining, I guess you could say, for Arsenal is that Manchester City also lost this weekend, but that's still not a great deal considering that Liverpool did win, and of course they are now 7 points behind the current league leaders. Begs the question as to whether or not this is a sticky patch for Arsenal, or whether or not this is just a club on the verge of crisis, or maybe this is just a dark hour, maybe the darkest hour before a new dawn. We're going to be talking about Arsenal. We're going to be talking about the title challenges, what to make of the game at the weekend, what to make of Mikel Arteta, and everything else in between. But before we go any further in discussing all of that, I would like to remind you all to please like the video and also subscribe if you're new. Both things are always and very greatly appreciated. Get involved in the comment section below. Let me know what you guys are thinking and feeling down there. Your thoughts, comments, opinions, predictions, feelings, whatever you want to call it, will make for great and interesting reading, I'm sure, down below. So please do use and abuse that comment section, people, and talk to me on this particular topic. Right, now that that's out of the way and done with, let's get on with the video. Let's talk Arsenal. Let's talk title contenders. Let's talk the current rough patch that Arsenal are seemingly going through. 1 point from a possible 9. That is the reality of the situation for Arsenal Football Club right now. 1 point from a possible 9 in their past 3 games is what Arsenal are currently going through right now. A draw to Liverpool is sandwiched between defeats to both Bournemouth and Newcastle. Teams that, yes, are tricky. Yes, are decent footballing sides. But when you are a title contending team, you need to be winning them games. And even the Liverpool game, you could argue, despite the quote-unquote injury crisis that Arsenal were going through over the past couple of weeks, being at home and being 2-1 up, you could potentially argue the fact that maybe Arsenal should have got more from that game. Not really for me to say. But it is a bit of a concerning time for Arsenal. 1 point, like I say, from a possible 9. Their defence seems leakier than it has been in the past couple of years, 2 or 3 years. Their discipline seems to be a bit all over the place. And yes, Arsenal fans will tell me referees have not been kind to them this season and have not been on their side. But I would also argue that every red card you've picked up this season has at least been somewhat justified. Harsh, maybe, but justified. The concern I would have for Arsenal is the fact that they're leaning on the whole injury crisis and refereeing displays a little too hard, when really the culprits in this are mainly the board and Mikel Arteta. Now, I said at the beginning of the season I back Arsenal to win the Premier League title, and although we are only 10 games into the season, I'm slowly starting to change my mind. Not completely. I still think Arsenal can have the potential and the opportunity to turn this form around and to get back on top of the Premier League. But I would say it is concerning. I would say it is definitely concerning. And the areas of concern I would have would be the board and the manager. The board, because this past summer they needed to go out and they needed to make a statement, and they only did half a job on that. Call your board Arthur, if you like. Arthur job. Because the signings of Ricardo Calafiori and Mikel Merino I praised highly. But I also said that for me to be completely convinced of their Premier League title contendership and their title winning material, they will need to go out and purchase a striker, a killer, as well as a goal-scoring winger. They didn't really do that. The best they could muster in the final few days of the transfer window was a loan move for one Raheem Sterling, who, whilst providing some experience, some know-how, knowledge, pace, speed, the occasional goal-scoring touch, wasn't exactly what I had in mind when I was talking goal-scoring wingers, or even killers of a striker. The board for me didn't do enough, and that's what concerned me going into the season. I still think Arsenal probably had enough about them, but it was going to be a big ask. And then I also thought that maybe they would save something up for January. Maybe in the January transfer window, they would go in for someone like a Gyökeres or someone like that to really kind of push them over the edge in that title race. Of course, they had to get to January to get there, but of course my predictions were made before a ball was even kicked this season, so you can forgive me for kind of speculating more so than what was in front of my eyes. Even so, like I say, I think you can look at the board on that one. The reason I would blame Mikel Arteta is because he has helped build a squad over the years that he seemingly has no trust in. Now, it's a decent squad. It's a very, very good squad. Starting 11, when all fully fit, are incredible. The depth in that squad, you can argue it's not perfect, but it is still pretty damn strong. Should be still well drilled enough that for a few games here and there, players can drop in and drop out at will and it not seem as though there's a dip in performance. Should be very consistent in that aspect. But what we're seeing is this squad be pushed to a limit. Now, the reason the squad has been pushed to the limit is because, yes, there has been a couple of injuries for certain Arsenal players, certain squad injuries, a big injury to Martin Odegaard, of course. A few suspensions in there as well. Declan Rice was suspended for, I believe, the North London derby. William Saliba was suspended for the Liverpool game. Leandro Trossard was suspended for a game as well. The squad has had to be used maybe a bit more than it had to have been in the past couple of years. Thomas Partey has been played at right back. Maybe more so through the manager's eyes than what he's had available to him. But what does that say about the squad? It tells me he has no confidence in the squad beyond his natural starting 11. Alexander Zinchenko, very experienced, and before he came to Arsenal was seen as very consistent for Manchester City. Where's he been all season? I forgot he was even an Arsenal player before he came on this past weekend. Completely forgot he was an Arsenal player. Not been seen for a while, and then suddenly is thrown into a scenario in which Arsenal need a goal to at least equalise against Newcastle. And he's just thrown on. Where's he been? Jakub Kiwior, a guy who Arsenal wanted to sell this past summer, used sporadically, wasn't even used properly in his natural position throughout the course of this season so far. I don't believe Arteta has belief in his squad. He has belief in his starting 11, but I don't think he has any belief in the squad beyond that point. And a big one for me is this Ethan Nwaneri kid. I haven't pronounced that right, by the way. Nwaneri. I just call him Nwaneri. Just call him Ethan. Whatever. Martin Odegaard has been injured. And the one thing that we've seen from Arsenal is a lack of creativity. Yes, they've managed to beat the likes of Leicester and Southampton, but their quality should have done that anyway. But the past couple of weeks, whether it be against Liverpool, whether it be against Newcastle at the weekend, Bournemouth especially, even though they were down to 10 men after half an hour or so. They've lacked creativity. They've lacked energy. They've lacked any innovation. Something that Odegaard brings in abundance. Something that Bukayo Saka brings in abundance. They had none of that. And they only look threatening from set pieces. Set pieces which, of course, they've been applauded for and given their plaudits for the past couple of years now. They've been applauded for their set piece work. But when the set pieces weren't working, as they weren't on Saturday because the deliveries were poor, they had nothing. They had absolutely nothing. And that's where you're looking at the manager for some sort of inspiration, some sort of move to do something out of the ordinary to try and change things up and shape things up a bit. And this Waneri kid, I've heard a lot of Arsenal fans praise him and demand he starts. They demand he starts. They demand he comes off the bench. They demand to see this guy more often. But he only gets a few minutes here and a few minutes there, and he doesn't start games. So where is he? Arteta seemingly does not trust this kid to be the creative force, the creative influence in this team. Simple as that. Which is completely wrong in my opinion, because I have seen Arsenal this past summer get rid of the likes of Fabio Vieira and Emile Smith-Rowe. Two guys who could possibly fill in that Martin Odegaard position should he have got injured or suspended or needed a rest in any kind of way, shape or form. Which, to me, seems to suggest that you are willing to promote this kid as the understudy to Martin Odegaard. And yet, I don't see him as regularly as probably we should. Now, maybe if Odegaard was fit, we'd probably be seeing him the same amount as what we're doing, maybe even a little less. But the fact of the matter is that Odegaard isn't there. And you're playing a midfield in which there are so many underperforming players in that midfield and in the whole squad in general that it's got a lot of Gooner fans worried that maybe this is not going to be their season either. Leandro Trossard is completely off the boil. Gabriel Martinelli hasn't been the same for the past 18 months or so. Bukayo Saka can't do it all on his own. Kai Havertz, I don't know. I really don't know about Kai Havertz. Like, on Saturday especially, he was everywhere but where he needed to be. The defence is leaking goals more so than ever. Saliba and Gabriel, solid, but again, can't do it all on their own. Timber, Calafiori, Ben White, whoever they're putting in the fullback positions, it's just either being a little bit more found out than what it was before, or Arsenal are struggling. And I think there's also another factor in this as well. I look at Arteta and I look at the squad that he has helped build, and I see there is very little trust from him seemingly in the squad beyond his natural starting 11. I see the board and I see a group of people that should have put their finger out more, should have pushed the boat out more, and should have done more for this club. But I also see, and this is what I was worried about towards the end of last season, and this is what I called into question on a couple of videos. Mentality. Are we starting to see Arsenal mentally drain? Because I've seen it as a Liverpool fan. Liverpool going toe-to-toe with Manchester City so often, going that intense, week in, week out, game in, game out, finishing on 96, 92, 94 points or whatever the hell it was, on not just one occasion, but a couple. Go head-to-head on multiple fronts. Go challenging for multiple trophies at the same time. It's mentally draining. And when you don't really change the squad that much, you maybe make 1 or 2 additions, it can have an effect on the team, both physically and mentally. And I called this into question towards the end of last season. And I don't want to be right in a sense, because I don't necessarily think Liverpool are going to win, and I would hate for Manchester City to do a 5-peat. So I guess the lesser of 2 evils is an Arsenal win for the Premier League. But at the same time, are we starting to see Arsenal mentally shot? Is that what we're beginning to see here? I have to call that into question, because I called it into question last season whether these players were going to be mentally capable enough to go yet again. After coming so close on 2 occasions to the Premier League title, having an 8-point gap a couple of years ago, getting down to the final day of the season last season, are we starting to see this side mentally capable of going up against City yet again? I don't know. I don't think we are. But there are a few factors there as to why I think Arsenal have hit this sticky patch. Now, it's not out of the realms of possibility for Arsenal to get back onto to get back to where they have been for the past couple of years so consistently. You can look at this as maybe a bad patch of form that they can easily rectify going forward. Maybe when Martin Odegaard gets back seemingly after the international break, maybe things will turn around then. But that's a big pressure on his shoulders to obviously come back and be the main influence. I know he's the skipper for a reason, but for him to come back and to hit the ground running straight away after what has been a poor few performances and results from the Gunners, it's a big responsibility on his shoulders. It's a big responsibility on his shoulders. And like I say, I just think Arteta needs to be a bit braver, be a bit bolder, and maybe needs to start trusting in his squad a little bit more than just beyond his natural starting 11, because there are some really good players there. There are some really talented players there. But I would argue that some of them may have lost their way, lost their confidence, because maybe he's playing them out of position when they are coming on. Maybe they're not getting enough game time. Or maybe he's just making strange tactical tweaks. Tactical or squad personnel tweaks, whatever you want to call it. Obviously, as an Arsenal fan, as Arsenal fans, you guys will know more about it than I do. I'm just looking at this from the outside looking in and trying to draw on from my own experiences of seeing Liverpool go toe-to-toe with Manchester City over the years. I'm just saying that this is easily rectifiable, but there might just need to be a bit of a bold step taken by Mikel Arteta in order to rectify it. And I'm sure certain Arsenal fans may also agree with me on that. But as I always say, these are just the thoughts, comments, opinions, predictions, feelings, whatever you want to call it, of this guy. I want to know what you guys think. What do you make of this whole Arsenal situation? Is this a bit of a sticky patch that they are going through right now? Or is this on the verge of crisis? Could this just be the darkest hour before the dawn of something special? Let me know what you guys are thinking and feeling down below in the comment section. Would love to hear what you have to say on this. Otherwise, hit the like button on the way out if you enjoyed the video. Subscribe if you are new or want to see more content like this. Both things always and forever be greatly appreciated. Thank you all so much for watching and listening. And of course, thank you all for your continued or even brand new support. Whichever one it is greatly appreciated. Welcome if you are new. Thank you for staying if you are, of course, are a recurring character, I guess, in this. Thank you all so much for supporting the channel. It means a great deal to me and will always and forever be greatly appreciated. Otherwise, like I say, I've been Fletch. This has been another Fletch Talks video, and I will see you speak to you all again soon in another video or live stream or whatever it may be. Cheers, guys. Thanks for watching. Take care. Enjoy the rest of your day. Speak to you again.